Ndị be anyị Igbo ọma na-ege ntị, anyị ekenekwa unu ọzọ n'ụbọchị uhuruchi nke tata bụ 3rd of March 2024. Dịka o si dị, anyị si ndị be anyị ya dịrị unu mma n'ụnụ ya dịka echi na echi ada agwụ agwụ. Ọzọ dịka ibe ya bụ anyị chọkwa ichetara unu na n'ụbọchị nke tata bụ ụbọchị afịa eke n'Igbo. Tata bụ ka ndị Igbo na-azụ eke, obodo dị iche iche tata ka a na-azụ eke. Anyị si ndị be anyị dịrị unu na mma. Dịka o si dị, ewetara unu ya bụ ozi gbasara maka ka o si ada dịka anyị si kwuo unu nkwa n'iru akwụkwọ, na anyị gara enye unu update, daily update bụ gbasara maka ife na-eme n'iru akwụkwọ n'obodo a, ka onye ọbụla mara ife a na-eme, ka onye ọbụla mara oge mmiri ju awa ọnụ. Ọkụwụ ka ọ dị ọbụna ya gwara unu ka obodo si wee kwụrụ, ọ bụrụ na anụkwa ihe na-emekwa unu wee kwado owu na ọfụma, maka ife Maazị Nnamdi Kanu gwara ya agwa. Ọ sị na the zoo has gone. Gee ya bụ ife ewetara ya n'iru akwụkwọ n'ụbọchị nkịtị, ga-esi ya dropụrụ anyị kọmentị gị on the comment section below. All right, over to you, sir.
Has taken a swipe at labor unions in the country, calling on them to maintain peace. The president took a shot at the unions in Lagos yesterday, 2 days after the Nigeria Labour Congress held a nationwide protest over the economic hardship in the country.
Allow me to throw a jab here. The labor union should understand that no matter how much we cling to our freedom and rights, to call for strike within 9 months of an administration is unacceptable. If you want to participate in the electoral process, wait until 2027. If not, maintain peace. We are not the only voice of Nigerians.
President Tinubu was in Lagos to commission the first phase of the Lagos Rail Mass Transit, the Red Line, which can carry 750,000 passengers daily. The president said the project validates what is possible when policymakers put the people at the center of their policies. Tokumbo Oyetunji reports.
Another axis of Lagos is covered by the metro project just a year after the Blue Line started its operations. It's the Red Line, a 37-kilometer rail route covering the densely populated Agbado to the commercial area of Marina. And President Bola Tinubu here is leading others to embark on the first ride of the service, which will deliver not less than 750 passengers on a daily basis, the first phase from Agbado to Igbo. Although there are 2 more phases to go, excited officials of the Lagos state government are more than happy to showcase the already achieved part of the project, which groundbreaking was carried out about 3 years ago. They are also excited that the project supervisory agency Lamata was a creation of the president while presiding over the affairs of the state some 2 decades back.
It's no coincidence that the first pillar in this administration's Teams Plus agenda is traffic management and transportation. And we're putting a lot of work to build what our predecessors have done and to continue delivering results to the people of Lagos State. There are a total of 6 lines that we have on our Lagos rail mass transit system when fully developed. We have already started preliminary works on the next 2 rail projects, the Green Line and the Purple Line. The Green Line is a 71.4 kilometer rail from Marina all the way to the Lekki Free Trade Zone. The Purple Line is a 54.35 kilometer rail from Ojo, close to Alasu, all the way into Mowe again inside Ogun State.
When the other phases, especially the extension from Onyibo to Marina, are fully completed, the Red Line will move over 1 million passengers daily. And the contract signing for the second phase is part of Thursday's event to ensure that it is also delivered soon. That excites guests, including the President and his Minister of Transport, who expresses the desire to see other subnational governments initiate projects like these.
One of the ongoing transformation has been the transportation system. Focus on the people. This is one example of an agency out of bureaucracy that works. Well guided, well committed, a well-designed blueprint. It has worked across 4 administrations. For this revolution that is started, these reforms that is ongoing, we're not looking back. Because it's about people, the engineering, reconstruction, the affirmation of our pledge to be loyal to our country. That's one thing I know, definitely, is that there's a very bright light at the end of the tunnel.
From the red, green and purple lines are also in the works in what the Lagos State authorities describe as an elaborate plan to cover the entire city of commerce with an effective metro rail service. Tokumbo Oyetunji, Arise News, Lagos.
Right, great news for Lagos State. Congratulations to the President and then the Lagos State Governor and, of course, all Lagosians on the commissioning of the Red Rail Line. Dr. Wat, it's so good to see you and welcome back. Rufai, your take on this. And, of course, let's not forget the jab that the President threw at Labour.
Oh, we'll put everything in it. Number one, let me start with the good part because I'm going to throw my jabs too this morning. Wait for it. So let me start with the good parts. Congratulations to Lagos. I mean, I'm really excited about the Lagos Red Rail Line. Lagos leads the way. And it shows when other state governors were there to come and learn from Lagos how to do big projects like this. Some critics of the project will say, okay, better late than never. This ought to have been done many years ago. And at some point, we stalled on this. In fact, some people will say this is 40 years late because the dream was laid out by Alhaji Lateef Jakonde that did so much in just 4 years. And we commend Lateef Jakonde. You know, but we almost importantly commend the Governor Sanwo-Olu, having the fortune to be able to carry it through. This will use diesel at its height. It will pick up about 500,000 passengers, 37 trips daily, probably in the next 6-7 months, based on the antecedents of the last one, or maybe even less than that. It should be fully functional. I'm happy it passes through the airport, so commute time to the airport, brilliant. I mean, you might not necessarily be able to miss flights again if you can get on the train on time, so we're happy about that. I mean, very good. It's Lagos Day in the sun, and congrats to Lagos, and congrats to those that were able to do it financially and structure it. And also congrats to President Bola Tinubu, and I'll say why. Because the Lamata, for what it is today, was President Bola Tinubu's vision, that, heralded Lamata and everything. So congrats to him. These are some of the reforms he made when he was governor. So congrats to him. He's Day in the sun. He takes the glory for that. But let me throw my jab. I think what President Tinubu said is the most insensitive thing I've heard the president say in recent time. Why is Labour going on strike? Because government failed in their promises. Isn't it shocking that President Tinubu now doesn't even understand what it means for government to constantly fail in their promises to people, and people don't trust government again? This was the same government that had 16 agreements that never met it, those agreements. Wage awards, they never paid. It was only when Labour wanted to go on strike, they started paying some of the wage awards only last week to civil servants. CNG buses today is a case of publicity. Nowhere to be found. So you think if you meet your agreement and Labour go on strike, we Nigerians will say, oh, Labour, you are wrong. They will support the government. But Labour has a ground to go on strike because government has failed. And most of his policies have brought hardship to Nigerians. And he said he takes full responsibility just yesterday. Secondly, the part that he said that I don't understand is President Tinubu now trying to turn this into politics. That's why I said it's the height of insensitivity. You've not given Nigerians food, they've been power, you're talking about 2027 elections. You're distracting the matter. And for him to say, if Labour wants to run in 2017, that in 9 months is too early for having strikes. Really? This same President Tinubu that went with a couple of people that went ahead to start the 2012 massive strike for 12 days. For 14 days. President Jonathan was how many months in office? He was sworn in 29th of May 2011. By 2012 January, President Tinubu and a couple of other people as civil society shut down the country. So, does he forget that he did that? And let me even shock you. This was the same President Jonathan that, as at the 2011 elections, he aligned with President Jonathan. So just after the strike has started, if the country is good, nobody will go on strikes. So please, let me just remind him. I'm done. I'm done. They say I should keep quiet.
Okay.
No, they didn't.
Well,
Keep quiet.
first, congratulations to the people of Lagos State, because it's the people that are going to benefit from this vision, this dream realized, to use the phrase by President Tinubu when he was inaugurating the first phase of the Red Line. And he also witnessed the signing of the documents for the planned second phase. And of course, this would help with transportation in Lagos State, move a lot of people. And also, congratulations to Ogun State, because the people in Ogun State from the Agbado end are also going to benefit from this. And there is this collaboration between Lagos State and Ogun State, in the area of transportation, which I think should be encouraged and should be emulated by other state governments across the country, even beyond, party political closeness, because people could say, Governor Abiodun could work with Governor Sanwo-Olu because they are from the same party. As the president said, the important thing is the people. And this is a good demonstration of people-centered achievement. And then congratulations, of course, to the president who took over the dream of this mass transportation from where Jakonde left off, where Jakonde didn't leave it off. The project was frustrated by people who later, became president of Nigeria. But in 2003, Governor Tinubu, as he then was, established the Lagos Transport Metropolitan Authority, the LAMATA, and reinvented the idea of this mass transportation. But it has taken Governor Sanwo-Olu to now fructify, that vision. So to President Tinubu, congratulations. And to the man who realized the dream, the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, congratulations also. And in his own case, it's a very special moment, because you recall that when he became governor, he campaigned on the basis of an agenda called themes. And in that agenda, themes, T represented transportation. And we've seen his focus on multimodal transportation in Lagos State, either ferry services or provision of buses and now rail line. And what is special about this rail line, beyond the fact that it's going to move daily about 500,000 people, and later up to about 1.1 million people daily when it's fully operational. The important thing also is that there are bridge overpasses. There are overpasses about 10 along the rail line, which will make it easier for vehicles traveling along the rail line to just take the overpass. And at a time when Governor Tinubu says he's providing, I think, 25% subsidy on public transportation. Governor Sanwo-Olu saying he's providing subsidy of up to about 25%. A lot of people will take advantage of this new opportunity that has been provided. That is that about that. Now, the president said he was going to throw a jibe, and then he descended on Labour. Well, obviously, the president is angry. But I think anger does not solve the problem. In case the president himself has forgotten, organized labor is saying there's too much hardship in the country. Organized labor is saying, when you sign an agreement, you honor it. Pacta sunt servanda. Agreements are sacrosanct. You signed an agreement with labor October 2, 2023. Almost 5-6 months later, you have not honored that agreement. That is the issue. It's not politics. Organized labor is not saying they want to prepare for 2027. They're saying, look, these are the demands we have given. This is the agreement we have reached. Can you honor agreement in a gentlemanly manner? So the president going to this special event yesterday and then say, you know, what labor is asking for is unacceptable to government. Well, labor needs no further reminder. It is very clear that the additional 2-week notice that they have given the federal government of Nigeria, that is not going to be honored. That's simply what President Tinubu was saying yesterday, if you interpret it, if you contextualize it. And I do not think, you know, that that is the right way to go about it. I have not seen a response from labor, but organized labor has the capacity to give the president a very robust response. And it's not in its place to say that labor cannot protest or that 2 protests within 9 months is not acceptable. No, the right to assemble, to protest is a constitutional right under Section 40 of the 1999 Constitution. So the president cannot write off the constitutional right of anybody. He doesn't have such powers. Nigeria is a state party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, 1966. Section 21 of it defends the right of the people to assemble, to protest. Article 11 of the African Charter on Peoples and Human Rights also recognizes our right as workers to protest. So is the president rewriting, dismissing international conventions to which Nigeria is party to? So these are the questions. As a human being, the president can be angry, but he chose the wrong forum to be angry. And it took away from the specialness of that moment yesterday.
Yeah. I'll just say 1 or 2 things about this because I know we need to move on. We'll have our next story on. But the first thing I'd like to mention is that where President Tinubu talks about him being just 9 months in office, yes, in terms of his personal capacity, but APC has been in power for the last 8 years and 9 months. And if government is supposed to continue, especially coming from the same party, and bearing in mind that he said he was fully aware of the challenges, then he shouldn't ask people now at this point to renege on his word, that we shouldn't pity him to say that it's too early to begin to protest. If people are hungry, if situation or the current situation has gone worse from May 29 to now, then people have the right to protest, and they must understand that as a voice of a large section of the people of Nigeria, labor, the onus is on labor to speak out when their people are suffering. It's just that, and it now goes to show what the president of NLC said. In the first instance, he had said they shelved the second day of the protest because they'd achieved their objectives, but later on he'd mentioned that it was because of intimidation and threats of consequences if they continue with the protest, that the government had done its part to undermine labor and try to get other unions to go against the protest. So we see that government is trying to work against the legitimate protest of labor. And so I think beyond it being the wrong forum, was also the wrong time. Perhaps he ought to have used that time slot he used in throwing a jibe at labor to really assure the people and say that, you know what, we hear your concerns, we can see the protest, and we are not going to bed. We are working hard to ensure that things get. He did mention that, but he should have just left out the other side of things to say that, people shouldn't protest. People will protest, and it's not sponsored politically. It's not sponsored by political enemies. It is the reality of what Nigerians are facing currently. By the way, congratulations to Lagos again. With the traffic situation, it is welcome news, and I hope they will explore the waterways and other forms of transportation to lessen the labor of transport on Lagosians. Congratulations. Move on to our next story. Nobel laureate Professor Wole Soyinka has called for the reconfiguration and decentralization of the country, saying there are necessary steps towards national progress. The renowned playwright, novelist, poet, and essayist submitted that decentralization would bring government closer to the people so that productivity could be manifested as a product from the citizens and not simply as manners from heaven. He said there was nothing wrong in the general representatives sitting down to discuss and determine protocols of association, and anyone who did not want to abide by these protocols could take a walk. Soyinka maintained that there was nothing sacrosanct about nation building, but it's a constant work in progress. All right, Rufai.
Yeah.
Professor Wole Soyinka has been quite, he hasn't kept quiet during this administration. He's been quite vocal, responded to a few things happening, and now he's come out to say that what he's seeking is Nigeria's reconfiguration. What's your take on this thing?
I support President Wole, I say President Wole Soyinka, goodness me. Professor Wole Soyinka head on. He was speaking at the 50th anniversary of the Punch, and happy birthday once again to the Punch. And what he said was very instructive. The Punch came at a time where the media sector needed a lot of, resilience and strength. And when you look back at the days of the military and media, you know how far the Punch has come. But what he said was apt. We need to be able to talk about the furtherance of this nation. Because, you see, every major group of ethnic coloration and at some point said they wanted to leave this union. Let's not deceive ourselves. So when they use that as a way to victimize the Igbos, I say it's wrong. Because everybody at some point has said they are discontent about this union. Sunday Igboho is back. I saw some videos about what he was saying. He was still insisting on his Yoruba nation. 2-3 days ago, he came back to bury his mother. Those from the north were the first to scream Araba after Ironsi had died, and they were talking about the furtherance of the nation. That long weekend where there was no leader in Nigeria before Gowon emerged. People in the north, some top key officers, had screamed Araba. For reference, you can read St. John Torres' book. And then we had the Civil War. Why? Because every part of this country feels discontent. So what President Wole Soyinka is calling for is the capacity to have conversation about how we can truly make Nigerians. We have made Nigeria, but we have not made Nigerians. I think I'm quoting that from the famous word of the Italian statesman Massimiliano Zeglu after the Risorgimento in Italy, that says we've made Italy, but we've not made Italians. And that's why when you hear the likes of Obafemi Awolowo speak, talking about the geographical expression, language, and things like that, we need to really make a coordinated unit and ask ourselves, do we want to stay coordinated and we want to truly make it work, or otherwise? And we need to have those real conversations.
All right.
Okay. First, congratulations to Punch newspaper. Punch was actually 50 years in March 2023, but it coincided with the election period. So they had to move the celebration to this year. And this year, they have had a novelty match where the punchers were beaten by media amalgamated. And then they had a photo exhibition also. And then yesterday, they had the lecture, Recovering the Narrative, presented by Professor Wole Soyinka. They are going to have a dinner party on Saturday. And, Punch is truly worth celebrating. The vision, the newspaper established by Chief Moyosore Abodere, which, his successors, his children, his family, have managed to build into an even bigger institution. A very good example of succession, how it can be successful in business. As both business and as a product, and an intellectual property in the information space in Nigeria, the Punch is truly successful. We wish the newspaper 50 more years, and we hope that in 50 years' time, we will also be alive to attend the 100, celebration of Punch newspaper. I mean that as a joke. Now to go to Recovering the Narrative, presented by Professor Soyinka. I was in the hall yesterday. His key point is that the present contraption, that's the word he used, is not working. And that is the Nigerian arrangement. And he argued that there have been attempts at the national conferences in Nigeria. One in 2005, under President Obasanjo. The other one in 2014 under President Jonathan. And his argument is that those national conferences did not work because there was no will. They removed the will from the wheel. That is the W-I-double-L from W-H-E-E-L. Okay, I think that was how he described it. And that as a result, those conferences yielded no result. But the present contraption is not working. He now recommends that the people's representatives should come together and take a second look at this arrangement. And that does not mean dissolution. And that is why he will not use the word restructuring. He used the word reconfiguration and decentralization of the Nigerian arrangement. These are his specific words. And that, unfortunately, the people who talk about restructuring, when they get the opportunity, they don't remember what they have said previously, which was a very, which was a jab at the present occupiers of power. And he raised other issues: the responsibility of the media, the need for justice, which he has described in one of his writings as the first condition of humanity. And he stressed the point that humanity is important. That's why he said, let nations die if humanity will survive. So, let nations die so that humanity may live. So these were some of the points. And then justice for Delegiwa, justice for Deborah Samuel. Yeah. These were some of the points he made. And then he referred to the Japa syndrome, that people will abandon one form of imperialism for another form of slavery in another part. And of course, he talked about abuse of power, coups, what he called the khaki syndrome, the neo-khaki syndrome across West Africa. And the reason for that is because political leaders do not serve the people. So it's a very, about 1 hour presentation. He said a lot more, but let me, I think this summary is enough.
Thank you for
But the material, I'm sure, is available so that people can read it.
Yes, very important thing, salient points, as always, Professor Wole Soyinka made yesterday at that presentation. And I just wanted to touch the fact that it seems like this conversation around reconfiguration is coming up a lot more. Just last year, Chief Afe Babalola also wrote an article and said that in the event, or just like in a corporate entity, when restructuring fails, then you had to move on to reconfiguration. And so perhaps these are conversations that must be had, and talking about just how important the national conference was and what the benefit has been so far. Important conversations. Let's take some other news now making the headlines at this time. First, Russian President Vladimir Putin warns the West that they face the risk of nuclear war over an attempt to send troops to fight in Ukraine. More than 100 people have been killed while waiting for aid in Gaza, as death toll passes 30,000 since Israel-Hamas war began, Hamas-run health ministry reveals. And over in Bangladesh, at least 43 people have been killed and dozens injured when a fire ripped through a shopping mall late Thursday night in the Bangladeshi capital, Dhaka. While in China, Tesla rolls out new incentives as price war escalates. So those are some of the headlines around the world.
And by Dalo Linenu, Kunisnes Neme, Nirapo. Edeke Isowe Gaya Bife, Enoria the Ballon, the gentle lion who was in Nirapo, Nubasinke Tatano. Ozo the Kibiabo. Kefi were Kubastamaka Bife and Danino who was in Nirapo. Folk would in Oku City, Kefi were the Kubastamaka Bife. Drop wire on the comment section below. Chitopedi Eastern News 24, Kaisi when you tell you no Pozia do Kempa. Dano no Mundam one Kemesian.